fellow people in the community sector, this podcast is for you. So this podcast is for community employers across WA, supporting the people who support our communities. Good morning and welcome. My name is Annette Watkins and I'm the Executive Director of Community Employers WA, or CEWA. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're recording and listening today, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. We recognise the ongoing connection of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples to land, culture and community, and acknowledge the vital role Aboriginal community-controlled organisations play across WA. In our last podcast, we spoke about practical steps to identify whether your organisation is captured under the SCHADS Award. Well, at the start of June, the Fair Work Commission handed down a landmark decision affecting the Social Community Home Care and Disability Services Award, SCHADS, as well as the annual wage review. This podcast is designed to help you understand the changes to the award. The Fair Work Commission found that workers covered by the SCHADS Award have been subjected to gender-based undervaluation, meaning their work was historically paid less because it's predominantly done by women. The old classification system was also found to be complex, inconsistent, and difficult to apply, resulting in widespread misclassification of employees. I would now like to invite Simon to share more about this important decision and what it means for your organisation. Welcome back, Simon.
Thanks, Annette. Good to be back. Yes, the full bench have now made its final decision in regard to the group of awards that it was considering under gender undervaluation, and it handed that decision down on the 1st of June. It relates to specifically the Social Community Home Care and Disability Services Award, or the SCHADS Award as we refer to it, and this was the last of the 5 awards that had been reviewed to date.
So what does the decision tell us, Simon?
It follows an earlier decision that was handed down in April of last year, and in that decision it found that there was clear evidence that existing rates of pay in the SCHADS Award had been undervalued on the basis of gender considerations. But the full bench went further. It also indicated that the existing 5 classification definitions in that award were, in their words, not fit for purpose. And what they did was put forward a new provisional classification structure for the employers and unions to give considerations to. And so that was a process that has been undertaken through most of last year and earlier this year. And so the full bench now has made its final determination. The decision addresses the majority of employees, that is, those employees in Schedules B, C, D and F, and there's a separate decision for those employees employed in Schedule E, that is, the home care employees in the disability sector. So in regard to the majority of employees, what the full bench has now determined is that there will be a new classification structure that will replace the existing classification structures in the award, and this will operate from October of 2027. This will be a single classification stream which will replace the existing 5 classification streams, and it will have in it more precise classification descriptors. Full bench also determined that there was no need in this decision to have any phasing in on the basis that they believe that when the translation happens next October, in October of 2027, the increases are likely to be minimal and they'll be catered for under the NDIS pricing model.
So it looks like there's 2 parts to this decision. So what's happening with Schedule E then?
Okay, so for Schedule E, the full bench made a determination that their pay increase should operate from the 1st of October this year, that is, 2026. That is, that they should have a pay increase of 15% applied to them from that time onward. The full bench noted that the reason for this is that in the aged care industry, where workers were doing exactly the same type of work, they had had their 15% increase on and from January of last year. They had it in 2 steps, one in January and then the second in October of 2025. Now, what's interesting is that they've made no mention of any phasing in for this increase to operate from October of this year. But what they have done is given the parties 28 days to address any concern around the implementation of the increase. So we will have to wait till the end of the month to see if the full bench actually make provision to phase it in 2 or more steps. And the decision will come out at the end of the month.
I see. So, with the exception of home care employees in disability, the majority of employers in the sector have over a year to get their house in order. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
But is there anything in the decision that they can access to help them prepare then over this time for the translation?
Yes, Annette, the full bench have developed very detailed translation schedules which are attached to the decision. When the final orders do issue, it would be important for employers to begin working through these to understand how their employees will translate to the new classification structure and whether that's going to involve any increase in pay or not. If it is the case that employees drop pay, and that may happen, their rates of pay will be maintained but will be absorbed in future pay increases that will occur under future national wage case decisions.
I see. Is there anything else employers need to know?
The full bench made it clear that there should be no other increases, so where allowances under the existing award have been linked to a specific rate of pay, what will now happen is that these will be pegged to an equivalent rate under the new structure, so there won't be any change to the amount of the allowances. So what we need to keep in mind is these changes won't take place until October of next year for the majority of the employees. So employers have plenty of time to work through the issues that they need to look at and make any changes and communicate with employees as is necessary in that time frame.
Well, thank you, Simon. Whilst there is more to work through, this has provided a good overview of the decision. For over a decade, the Fair Work Commission had before it evidence that workers in the sector, overwhelmingly women, were paid less than workers doing work of comparable skill and complexity in other sectors. The Commission also found that the historical undervaluation was directly connected to the feminised nature of the workforce. Work done primarily by women was assigned lower rates than equivalent work done by men, not because the work was less complex, but because of the gender bias embedded in historical award structures. CEWA is here to support the sector during this time of change. We're developing resources to assist you. And just like this podcast, we're here to provide you practical insights, honest conversations, and resources that you can use. If this work matters to you, make sure you follow the podcast so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for the work you do, and thanks for listening.